Hello everyone and welcome to All Things Watched. In this video we are going to talk about the brand new movie A Creature Was Stirring, and this movie mainly starred Annalise Basso, Scout Compton, Connor Paolo, and of course Chrissy Metz. And when this movie first begins, it really starts off inside of this home or this house. Well, actually, the entire movie takes place in a single setting inside of this house. And the first two characters that we're introduced to are the characters known as Charm and Faith, and they are portrayed by Annalise Basso and of course Chrissy Metz. And so all we know is that there's these two characters in this house, and there seems to be something a little bit off with Charm, but we don't really know what it is. But it also appears that the two of these characters are living inside of this house with some form of creature, and we don't really know anything about this creature or where it came from or what it is, or even for that matter what it can do. All we know is that it seems like these two characters, Charm and Faith, are stuck inside with this thing, and it seems like to some degree, it almost seems like, at least from Faith's perspective, it almost seems like maybe they're actually covering for the creature, almost like they're sort of trying to keep it at bay in the house, but while also at the same time trying to keep it under wraps and sort of keeping it a secret. At least that's the impression that I've got for the first little bit of the movie. And then, of course, as the movie progresses, not too far into the movie, we're introduced to the two new characters known as Liz and Corey, who are portrayed by Scout Compton and Connor Paolo. And I believe they were sort of like, well, it seems like they were sort of breaking into the home, or at least that's the impression that I first got. But then, once they sort of get into the house and they meet Charm and Faith, they say then that they were sort of taking refuge in the house, which is why they broke in, was to try to avoid this, really big snowstorm that's happening outside. And so there's a really cool, couple cool, funny little scenes going on there between Corey, Liz, and Faith and Charm. Charm is sort of, hanging out up in her room, so to speak, with, a few things going wrong with her or whatever it is that's going wrong with her. And then Faith is sort of trying to hold down the fort and sort of defend the house or the building from Liz and Corey, because at this point in time she just doesn't know that whether or not they're friendlies or they're foes, friends or enemies, or whether or not they're trying to rob her and whatnot. But also, there's a few weird things about Faith herself as well. It seems like she's some form of medical professional, or at least she has some form of knowledge with medicine and whatnot. And it sort of seems like she's preparing like certain needles and medicine, almost as if she's going to either kill Charm, or maybe she's trying to help Charm, or maybe even try to help herself. There's a lot of really weird stuff going on just with the characters themselves, even without the creature, and we don't really know what's going on. And then there's times when it seems like Faith is very, dedicated to Charm, but then it also seems like there's times when Faith sort of wants to run away and get away from the situation, and so, Liz and Corey ends up coming into the home, and like I said, at first there's a little bit of conflict between the characters because Faith is trying to protect the home and protect Charm, and potentially even protect this weird creature and whatnot from these two, what she deems as intruders. Now, as the story goes on, of course, these four characters end up sort of having an alliance to some degree. They sort of, sort of come to terms with each other, and they sort of get along and become almost like friends until the story continues to progress and Liz and Corey start to realize that there is some form of creature in the house. Now, I won't really go into much detail about the creature or where it comes from or what it is or anything like that, because if I do, then that would completely spoil the movie for you if you're somebody that actually wants to sit down and watch it. But once we get towards the end of the film, closer to, the third act, or maybe more towards the end of the second act for that matter, then the movie gets even weirder again, because then a whole bunch of stuff that happens is almost like, the movie, takes a dose of drugs or something, or goes on its own form of acid trip, and it just goes really bizarre, and there ends up being multiple creatures and all sorts of weird stuff, and sort of the direction that they go with that, with the writing. I thought it was very interesting, especially once you see the conclusion of the movie and you start to see sort of where each of the characters end up, and you sort of see, really what's going on with Charm, and really what's going on with Faith, Corey, and Liz, and all that cool stuff. And overall, I thought it was. I thought it was an okay movie. I really enjoyed probably the first the first half of the movie I really enjoyed, and then the second half of the movie, even for probably the beginning of the second half, so even maybe like 60% of the movie I really enjoyed. But then the closer we got to the finale, the closer we got to the conclusion, I sort of veered away from it a little bit because it got almost a little bit too weird for me. And then it's almost like they sort of try to make a realistic resolution to something that's not realistic, so to speak, and they sort of try to like pull the rug out from under you. And I didn't really like it. I kind of wish that they just stuck with, the originally, the way it seemed. It's hard for me to talk about it without spoiling it for you. I wish that it was just a bunch of characters in the house with a creature, but it ends up being something completely different by the end of it, where, especially once you figure out what the creature is and all that kind of stuff. But I kind of wish that they had have just kept it the way it was at the beginning of the movie, with sort of this mystery and sort of the creature. I didn't like where they ended with the creature. I didn't like the origin of the creature or what the creature was. I kind of wish they had just kept the creature separate and have less connection to the characters than what it actually really do. And that's really the extent that I could talk about it here without actually ruining the movie and telling you, what the big, what the reveal is, so to speak, at the end of the movie. But if I had to put a number on A Creature Was Stirring, I'd probably give this one 55% because I did still enjoy it more than when I didn't. But I do wish that the movie had sort of stayed going in one direction rather than going in a different direction, which was the finale, which I wasn't really a big fan of, but I still liked the movie more than what I didn't. But anyways, folks, that's my review for A Creature Was Stirring. Let me know in the comment sections below if you've seen it, and if you'd like to tell me why or why not. If you like this video, click that subscribe button, and that's pretty well all I got. So until the next video, take care.